You are listening to the Mastering Business Basics podcast, where we discuss how to build a solid foundation under your small business to improve your chances of success. And now, here is your host, Roger Pearson.
Welcome to this week's episode of Mastering Business Basics. In the first couple of episodes, we discussed finding your why and determining what you enjoy doing in life, what I referred to as your likes. So the question remains, how do you take those two factors and use them to create a business that will last a lifetime? So that brings up a third thing you need to examine, your skill set. One of the concrete examples of success in any area of our lives is that we've got to realistically be able to look at ourselves. We need to not only look at the skills that we currently have, but also the skills and the psychology of what it takes to be an entrepreneur. We need to really see if the skills we currently have fit in with what we'd like to do or love to do, our likes. So I've noticed that most businesses fail because the owners choose to attempt to learn new skills instead of relying on the skills they already have. I mean, running a business is an art. You have to learn how to build the foundation. You have to learn accounting. You have to learn marketing. You need to learn customer services. And a whole lot more, there really is. You don't have time to learn a new skill at the same time when starting out on your first business, especially. That's why we need to start the discussion with how to determine what your skills really are. I mean, many people have a lot of trouble with this phase of the process, and many more underestimate the types of experience they actually have. So let's start with this question. If you moved to somewhere in the country you'd never been to before, or you knew anybody that lived there, what do you know that you could use to create revenue within a week? It's a hard question. And for many people, that would take a bit of thinking to do. But let me jog your memory. So if you really want to answer this question, you need to ask yourself questions such as these. What are the tasks that you're responsible for at your job? What are your tasks you do as a parent? What are people always asking your opinion about? What are the markets and industries you have experience in? What tasks do you do at home? What do you do in your spare time? If you had spare time, what would you like to do? Which is usually my case. What are people always asking you for your help with? Or what do you feel you're good at, but you're not currently utilizing? Most of us don't really realize all we do in a day's time that could be considered a skill. I mean, picking something up at the store for somebody is like a delivery service, or fixing your co-worker's computer again could be viewed as a computer consultant, or teaching your son how to hit a fly ball is really like being a sports instructor. Here's some homework. To get a feel for the entire scope of what you actually know how to do, carry a small notebook around with you for a few days and write down everything you do. I think you'll be amazed at the amount of things you actually know how to do. Any discussion of skills must also include what the basic psychology of entrepreneurs are. And by knowing these, you can avoid a lot of mistakes that people make. So let's look at some of them. You got to have courage. You must believe in yourself and your ability to do anything you set your mind to. That's vital on building a business, or anything in life that you want to accomplish for that matter. You have to have initiative. Hey, no one else is going to provide you the drive and the focus you need to be successful. You have to gain perspective. You always have to be looking several steps ahead and working backwards. You have to have persistence. When you get knocked down, get up and try again. Just don't whimper away. You have to have resourcefulness. People aren't going to hand you the answers. You have to go out and find what you need. You have to have flexibility. Your way or the highway mentality doesn't work in business. The marketplace is always changing, and you've got to change with it, or you're going to be left in the dust. You have to be able to take action. You can't research things forever. I mean, you need to set a starting date, and you need to keep to it. You have to really be an optimist to be a good businessman. You have to set your dreams in realism, not pipe dreams you don't have the skills to do. You've got to have confidence. You got to trust your gut instead of self-doubt. The world doesn't want you to fail. You just have to be confident enough to go out and do what needs to be done. You have to have enthusiasm. This is contagious. And one of your best weapons in overcoming resistance is just to be enthusiastic about it. And finally, you need satisfaction. Perfectionists are not good business people. They're so worried about things being just right, they never get started. And that was one of the hardest things for me to learn. If I'd waited until my book was perfect, or I knew everything about podcasting before I got in front of a microphone and start talking, which I will probably make a million errors with, I would never get started. I just had to sit down and I had to do it. That's all there is to it. I had to learn that businesses are never completed. They just keep growing and getting better in response to the marketplace. So if you examine the successful people that you know, you're probably going to find that they actually exhibit most of these traits. And I realize I mentioned a lot of them, but I include the transcripts for these podcasts. So you can download it and go through them and see which ones you need to work on. So you need to cultivate the ones that you possess and strive to master the rest. Finally, we need to briefly discuss the skills that you either need to learn or you need to hire somebody that has them. Many new entrepreneurs are just interested in getting out there and start working and not worrying about every detail of running a business. The problem is that if you don't take care of these things yourself, or you hire or partner with somebody that does, your business will eventually spiral out of control. So that's why I wanted to mention some of these. The first one is your organization. Some people are great at keeping organized, and some just can't get the hang of it. Yet it doesn't take many forgotten appointments or forgotten phone calls for your business to earn a bad reputation. And once you earn a bad reputation, you're going to be fighting every day to recoup. It really is bad because your reputation is your number one thing that you need to worry about. And you need to do everything possible to earn that reputation and to keep it. And to do that, you have to be organized. And if you're bad at that, find somebody to help you keep you organized, you know? The second thing you really have to take care of is time management. You just simply can't allow one activity to bleed into the next. If you schedule a meeting for 1 hour, only spend an hour. If your task is to spend 2 hours making phone calls, stop after 2 hours. If you're never having enough time for a certain task, you need to adjust your scheduling. Quit trying to squeeze things into your schedule. It's not going to work. Often our personal activities interfere with our business activities, forcing us to lose money. For instance, if you're making $100 an hour in your business, perhaps it might make more sense to hire somebody to clean your house for $20 an hour and use that time for your business to make that $100 an hour. Now, each item on your agenda should also have a defined outcome. I've been to so many meetings that would suddenly wander off into a side conversation that, while interesting, had nothing to do with the subject of the meeting. Well, this either resulted in nothing getting done or extended the meeting so that it messed up the rest of the schedule for the day. Anything extra should be scheduled for a later time or wait until the work for that allotted time is done. You have to be good, or get good at numerical analysis. Some people just don't like numbers, but they are your friends. You need them to tell you if your business is feasible. You need them to determine how much you should charge for your work. You need to know if you're making a profit. Learn to make numbers your friends. The next thing is subjective analysis. Now, I mean, you can actually crunch numbers and do data analysis all day, but if you ignore your tuition, you're generally going to lose. The best business people are the ones that also listen to that gut feeling they have about a situation. Sometimes the numbers look great, but it just doesn't feel right, and I've learned to walk away from some. Sometimes the numbers don't look too good, but I feel that there's something that I'm missing, so I dig further into the situation to see what I may be missing. Your intuition may not be right every time, but it saved me more times than not. You have to get good at communication. The biggest mistake you can make is to assume that people know what you're talking about. And this is something that I wish I had learned earlier. For anything critical, you should request that the person repeat it back to you to make sure that they understand the agreement you're making or what you're asking them to do. The extra time you take to verify they understand will save you countless headaches down the line. Then you have to get good at team building. As your business grows, you're going to need a team. There's never been a very successful entrepreneur that tried to be a lone ranger. And there's no way that you can be good at every aspect of your business that produces any sizable amount of money. For instance, I had to determine what the most important thing that I was responsible for in creating my company. I didn't have time to waste trying to do the complicated graphics, so I found a graphic artist whose work I admired. I don't have time to worry about doing the maintenance of the websites and everything, like backups. So I brought in a company that's expert taking care of this type of thing and helped me automate it. And although I'm good at financials, I sought out a new bank that will handle mailing out payments, doing payroll, and a better rate of return on my idle funds. I'm also partnering certain aspects of my online advertising campaigns. This allows me to concentrate on my core job, which is providing you with the support structure and the knowledge you need to build a solid base for your endeavors. And finally, you need to always be looking at the big picture. I mean, you're a business owner now. You have to start thinking like one. Too many businesses have failed because the owner got so caught up in the daily details of the business, they forgot the big picture. Now, I'm sure you've heard the old saying, couldn't see the forest for the trees. If you find that you don't have time to keep track of your whole business, then it's time to bring in a team member to handle the little details that are taking up all your time, and so that you can properly manage your business. So, now it's time to do some brainstorming. Starting with your skill set, it's now time to decide how to put that knowledge to good use. But just not any idea will work. It has to be a good idea. And the best way to make that happen is to ask others to help you brainstorm. This can be a mentor, your family, or anyone whose opinion you really trust. No idea is too crazy, as a crazy idea might trigger someone to think of a great idea. Now, I'd like to make a side note here. If you have children in your household, please include them in all aspects of your business. One of the greatest gifts you can give your children is a hands-on business education. Whether they wish to follow you in your line of business or not, that's strictly up to them. So don't do it for that reason. Teach them how a business runs, because whether they go on to create their own business or work for somebody else, it's going to increase their odds of success many times over. That's a great gift you can give them, and I wish it's something I would have had. Now, let's get back to brainstorming here. There's some basic business rules to follow when doing this. First of all, you got to keep ideas simple. You're not starting a mega corporation here. So let's start out with something simple. And don't try to get too original. I mean, not everybody gets lucky selling pet rocks. If you don't know what pet rocks is, ask your favorite AI for it. It's an interesting marketing concept that happened many decades ago. You should strive for a business model that already exists, but with a different spin, a better way of doing it. For instance, when I first started developing my first business website, it was going to be aimed at teaching business concepts for those wishing to build an internet business. But the competition in this area is really, really intense. It's even more so nowadays. So in talking to people, I realized that people who wish to start a business in the brick and mortar world had no convenient, affordable place to go to learn what they needed. This is because traditional business schools prepare people for corporate life, but they really fail to address the person that just wants to be a house painter, a plumber, an electrician, a landscaper, or an artist. So that was my different spin. I just had to figure out how to reach those people. The other thing you need to take a look at is supply and demand. An idea is no good if nobody wants your product or service. And once I had my idea, I went out and asked people in the trades what they thought. And most of the time, I was given their email address and told to let them know when my online course and books were ready. Another example, going into an existing business and finding out how loyal those customers are to that existing business. If that owner runs such a good business that no one would think of switching, that may not be a great idea to waste your time on. You have to look at values. Whatever you choose has to fit into your value system. Being an entrepreneur is not just about making money. It's also about a job well done and your chance to do things the right way, whatever your view of morality is. Hopefully it includes leaving the world a better place. And last, you have to look at your short and long-term goals. When you're starting out, we're usually concerned about creating a cash flow and learning the art of business. But at the same time, we should stretch out our vision for the future. While we may not be building our dream business at first, we're laying the foundation for it and learning what we need to know. So that needs to be part of our map also. So, now that we've looked at the basic rules, where do you come up with your ideas to consider? Well, here's some things that you might think about to get yourself started. Look around your community. Are people talking about a business they wish somebody would open that fills your skill set? You could look at current trends. Are people always complaining that they have to wait weeks to get products or services? Look at the other businesses in your area. Maybe you have a complementary skill that would allow you to partner with one of them. For instance, a home delivery service for firms that don't want to bother setting one up themselves or use the existing ones. Look around the world. Have you seen a great business idea during your travels that hasn't made it to your community yet? You could look at traditional media like newspapers or magazines, new media like the internet, or even pop culture could provide you ideas. But be careful to stay away from fads, though. An experienced business person may be able to throw together a business overnight to capitalize on fads, but it's usually a money loser for those starting out. You could look at trade magazines and research reports for great sources of ideas. There's dozens published for all sectors of the economy. And although they're not around much anymore, there's always the yellow pages. This book is full of display ads that could jog your memory to see what's available, what's missing, or what a complementary business might be. And last, the internet. Now, this can either be a help or a hindrance because of the sheer volume of information out there. It can easily become one of the biggest time wasters there is, and I probably waste too much time on it myself. But if you're comfortable doing due diligence and have business experience, you may want to visit a business broker to see what's available for sale in your area also. Now, much of what I've talked about today are for those who've never run a business before, or they've tried and can't figure out why they failed. Hopefully it's going to help you determine if your likes will fit into all the possible businesses you could build. I've also tried to address the things that so many people don't think about the first time around. So if you haven't gone to sleep yet and stayed with me this far, that tells me one thing. You're serious about owning your own successful business. I'm just here to help you get to thinking about what you need to do that. Next week, we're going to be getting into the 3 pillars of what it takes to build a solid business foundation. And these 3 pillars, they apply to any business, from the smallest business in the country to the largest mega corporation. They're the 3 business principles that you need to know, or you need to hire somebody that knows. But you better know them first, or you won't know who to hire. It'll be an interesting conversation, and I hope you join me. Until next week.
You have been listening to the Mastering Business Basics podcast with your host, Roger Pearson. For more information about all of the business education options that are available, we invite you to visit seagulltechnologies.com and continue your journey.